All right, so who does like Michigan? You're the only person who likes Michigan? Huh?
My favorite quarterback from Michigan.
You only like the quarterback, that's it. Well, it's too bad that none of you like Michigan because this year is going to be the last year. You know, last year was the last year that other team is going to have any success. So I'm just putting it out there. You can be all upset all you want, but that's just the way it is. No, thank you for allowing me to be here and stand before you. I mean, I think it's always a privilege and an honor to stand before peers, also before men and women, and be able to speak about your own story. And I think that's what life is really all about. It's about your story and a certain road that you took to get here. There's a guy that I met yesterday who coincidentally had an interesting story, and I just kind of want to put it out there, right? He's a college dropout. He was in and out of 3 high schools, and he lost his way. And at the end of the day, he ended up going to Harvard Business School. He went to get his law degree at Georgetown, and he became CEO. So when I think about those stories and I think about where people have come from and the things that they've been through, there's no one in the world can tell me that you can't make it, you can't do something. Because you can always find a way. Now, if you decide within yourself that it's something that you don't want to do, or if you've given up, or you feel as though that the wall is too tall to climb, or the road is too rough to travel, then you need to rethink the way that you approach it and keep pursuing and keep pushing on. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. So I grew up in a town in Maryland. I grew up, both my parents were in the military, so we traveled quite a bit. So I had a little bit of an adventuresome life where I always had to get to know different people. I always had to seemingly reinvent myself no matter where I went. And I went to a high school where I was, probably one of the only minorities in the high school. And so while fighting interracial battles, I also had to fight battles on the field. And I won most of those. But sometimes in the classroom, that wasn't always the case. I was the kid that got sent down to the principal's office more often times than none. But at the same time, instead of making a bad experience, I really got to know my principal. But even though that was a part of my journey, and even though I had all those instances, I made a positive light out of things that happened. And while at the same time I was focusing in on my studies, I also was playing the game of football. And when I played the game of football, I had a lot of success. And then ultimately that one day came where sometimes that success runs out, and I got hurt. And what happened was my back just didn't work the way that it was supposed to, so I had to have surgery. And this is at a time when I was a junior in high school, and all the different recruitment letters were coming in, and people said, look, you're going to go to this amazing college, you're going to go to this college, and then all of a sudden I end up on the surgical table. And as a kid, as a 17-year-old kid who has all his hopes and dreams in front of him, hoping that he's going to go to a great college and play football, a lot of times that comes crashing down on you. And I think that in the same way that I just said before, sometimes that road less traveled, or that hill to climb, or that mountain to bear sometimes becomes a little bit much. But there are people that are around you that lift you up, and that people around you that give you strength. And so I had to look to my friends, I had to look to my family, and they told me that everything was going to be all right. So I had the surgery. I got myself back up and running in about a month and a half time, and took my team to the state championship. And I went to the University of Michigan. So I get to the University of Michigan. First week I was there, I almost got kicked out. Coach said something, captain said something, I didn't agree with them. And they said, well, look, if you don't want to pay attention, or if you don't want to be the team player that we have here at the University of Michigan, well, maybe this is not the university for you. So I had to go home and think to myself, well, do I want to be here? And so I say that because sometimes those challenges that present themselves, sometimes those are the challenges that you've caused for yourself. And you need to look at and attack them head up and make the decision that you might want to change. So in the one instance, some things are out of your control, and you still have an opportunity to fight yourself fight your way back. On the other side, sometimes you're the one that's causing the issue, and you need to identify within yourself the best way to fight through those goals and fight through those challenges in order to reach your goals. And so I was at the University of Michigan for 4 years, went to the national championship, we won, and then I got out of college. I went to go play for the New York Giants my first year and tore my ACL. And so I'm back on the ground. Sometimes it gets a little bit tiresome, right? It gets tiresome to keep getting up. But then one of my friends told me the longer you spend on the ground, the less time you have to recover. So it's attitude adjustments. It's a way to look at yourself and believe that you can fight your way through. So I got myself back up, and I spent that year on IR, getting treatment, but finding my way through New York City. And New York City, when I tell you it's the best city, it's the best city. To visit, that is. Because otherwise you're going to be living in a shoebox and paying as much as anybody does for their house, their apartment. But it's an amazing city. But that city allowed me to open up my eyes to all the different opportunities and all the different places that you could essentially go. And I was always a curious child. And through all my curiosity while I was in New York City, I met a lot of great people, and they gave me advice and they gave me strength. And so while I was learning from people in the city, I allowed that to fuel my soul. I allowed that to fuel my body to get my leg back together so I could get back on the field. And so the second year that I was on the Giants, I became a starter. I say all that because there was 3 times specifically where I got knocked down throughout my life. I got knocked down when I was in high school, as I said before, with my back. Got knocked down in college because I almost got kicked out. And I got knocked down when I joined the New York Giants. But I ended up playing in the National Football League for 11 years. And I'm not saying that there weren't other trials and tribulations along the way that made it difficult to play the game of football. But what I realized is that's just the game of football. The game of football is the best metaphor for the game of life. Every time you go attack that line of scrimmage, someone's coming for you. And no matter if someone gets you and you pass them up, somebody else is coming for you. That's why we love watching football. Because we know that it's the most difficult sport that's out there. And I've played every single one of them. You name a sport, I've played it. Throughout a sport. Played it. What's next? Played it. What else? I played it. What else? Baseball, played it. I was shortstop. Rugby, played that. What else? Hockey, played that. Rollerblades and ice hockey skates. Ping pong, table tennis, I played that yesterday. What else? Huh? Hurling, played that. Ireland, Ireland, yeah. What else you got? Gymnastics, I did that. I can do a backflip right now. What else? Badminton, played that. I'm really good at badminton. Jacks, I can play that. I can pick them up. You want me? If you got the ball, I got the jacks. What's up?
What's the game with the Olympics when they scoop the thing?
Cricket, I play cricket. That's my favorite sport. You like cricket? I'm telling you, cricket is a beautiful game. If you like baseball, you gotta love cricket. Cornhole, I played that. I could beat every one of you. But none of those sports compared to the game of football. None of those sports are more relevant to not giving up. Because the fact is, every time, as I said before, you're going after the ball, you got to get through one person, and then you got to get through 3 other people, and then still the person you got to get to, you got to be able to knock them down too. And I think that as I've approached the game of life, I approach it just like the game of football. I surround myself with amazing people who have done a fantastic job in not only supporting me, but we support each other. It's about being able to study, understand what does the field look like so you can have the best opportunity to make the best play. It's about studying your opponent to know what their weaknesses are and really studying yourself to find out what your strengths so you can beat them. And then it's about looking around not only the locker room and the field, but taking on the energy of the people. I was able to have lunch with some of you that are in this room, and I was looking at the wall. It's talking about learning about the history of KDM P.O.P. And it's really the culture that sets the environment of success. It's the stadium. We were talking about how come Cleveland doesn't win? Because they have a bad company culture. And that's on tape. The Bengals got a good company culture, and I know firsthand. Thank you. But the company culture and being able to realize your dreams and be able to be a part of that program is something amazing. We even talked about that in the Bengals locker room. Marvin Lewis gave us the book, and I read that book, and I was amazed because I was like, wow. So we got the call. I was like, hold on, is this the company? I was like, oh. And to have someone that is there on your behalf to help you realize your dreams changes the game for everybody, because now there's no excuses. To have a coach that supports you and wants you to be successful, now there's no excuses. To be in an environment that only promotes positive growth, teamwork. I mean, that's probably the cleanest floor I've seen in all of Cincinnati. Organized. That's success. And all you have to do is get through one person, get through the next, and keep pushing on. And then come to the sideline and say, hey, coach, hey, can you help me on this play? That's that dream. Can you help me get an interception, which would end up with a bonus on your contract, right? Or end up with the next big contract, right? People that are around you, the culture that is set, promote your positive growth. And I don't know what's better than that. The rest is on you. The rest is understanding that it's tough. If life were easy, I don't know, it wouldn't be so fun, right? Because you wouldn't have the peaks and valleys. It would just be sunny California. But the 4 seasons represent different challenges, different situations, different weather. But if you have the right team, if you have the right culture, if you have the right people, then everything makes sense. Everything works itself out. So as I said before, I ended up playing the league for 11 years. I ended up having a couple different TV shows. I do a TV show for Spike TV. I have 2 of those. I have another show for CNN, do another show for DirecTV. I even work with KDM P.O.P. I'm able to be here. But if I didn't have those challenges, if I didn't have those people, if I wasn't a part of that culture, who knows where I would have been. Because when I was 18 years old, my dad took me on a walk, as he did every year for my birthday, and said, look, if you continue along the same path that you have as a young person, you'll probably be dead pretty soon. So I think for me, that was one of those moments. But it doesn't mean that it was going to be the only moment when it was tough. It was one of the moments when you decide to wake up. And I think when you climb those walls and when you go through challenges, those are the times when you really wake up. And as I said, it's now your choice to be able to look to the sidelines, to look to the team, look to the coaches, for them to help you along the way. And for them to actually be here with you. Couldn't ask for anything else. It's all on you. And that success will feel that much greater when you get there. Because you've worked hard, you've challenged yourself, and you've fought through any and everything to arrive at where you are. And that's what never giving up is all about. So thank you.